Hi, Ivy. I'm Christy. Nice to meet you, so to speak. Welcome to your 2018 Year Ahead spread. What I will be doing for you is pulling a card for each of the months of 2018, and as well as a card for kind of an overall theme. And then I'll give you a reading or explanation of each of those things and how they play into one another. You're welcome to message me if you have any questions or need any clarification. I usually tell people, though, that I am just the messenger, so I have limited ability to give clarity because a lot of times I am just flowing with what's coming to mind. And I oftentimes forget people's readings after the fact, which is kind of interesting to me. But so I may be able to clarify some things, but if don't be surprised if I also tell you to take those kind of into your own prayer meditation time, kind of asking whatever your higher power is for clarity. And because this again, I'm just the messenger, just letting things flow through, or that's the goal anyway. Um, so I've been shuffling the cards and just kind of meditating on your name and asking what I should be sharing with you today. I'm going to shuffle just a little bit more. What I usually tell people for readings is to take what resonates with them and leave behind what doesn't. The idea of resonation, it kind of comes from, well, the image I always get is a piano. If you've ever pulled back the cover of the piano, and you'll see these like long coil, like really thick, like almost wiry type things coming out of the keys, and then they have like a pad that strikes another, like you hit your key, strikes those coils. That's how it works. Anyway, the coil vibrates. It's like boom, and that's what makes the sound of that key or that note. So usually when something resonates with you, it strikes a chord. Okay, and it's that idea that you feel it in your body usually, and it's not always positive. So it's not. It's all the ranges of the spectrum from negative to positive emotion is resonation. Um, if you feel nothing, then generally that means it's not resonating with you. But if you feel resistance or avoidance, it is resonating with you. There's something that it's wanting to bring up for you. So I would encourage you to sit with some of the uncomfortable emotions if that comes up. And another thing with the year ahead spread is to usually encourage people to record these in their journals. So to record the actual card itself. And then anything that strikes you from the reading, obviously you're going to have a video link, so you can come back to that anytime. But anything that strikes you as you're listening, writing that down. And the nice thing is you'll have the cards, so you can actually research. There are a lot of resources that talk about, like in general terms, what the meanings of the cards are. And you may find that adds some dimension or some layers to it that may help bring a little bit more light or perspective to the month or the theme that you're looking at. So journaling is really big and important. And I actually just listened to a numerology report for the year, and she suggested that because there's a lot about it, and I'll send it to you if you'd like it, but she suggests doing a lot of journaling and self-expression this year to help navigate, because it's going to be a very emotionally laden year with emotions coming up maybe that we weren't anticipating or that we've hidden in the back. So a journal might be really important for you anyway. Sorry, that is a tangent. I just share what comes up, and because I think sometimes when I second guess things, then people don't get the information or the promptings that they're supposed to. So without any further ado, I am going to lay out your spread. March, April, May, June, July, August, oh, September, October, November, December. interesting. I just on accident laid a circle. I laid yours out in an oval. So I don't know if that will have any bearing on it, but just to let you know. And then your theme. Okay. All right. So, I'm going to talk about your theme first. Sorry, that's what I was debating on is seeing if I could get a feel from this. I might touch on this now and after our reading. Sometimes going through the year gives me a little bit more perspective on the theme, but I'm going to share what I have right now, and then we'll see if that adds to it. So your theme for the year is the Five of Cauldrons. As you can see, a perplexing card. There's not a lot of happiness. There is a lot of concern in this card. These cauldrons down here, they symbolize emotion. And as you can see, some of them are spilling out. They are tumbling. It's almost like they've been mishandled or there's an accident happening, and so mishandling of emotions. This guy is pretty disconnected from what's going on. He's even got a child behind him with some of that emotion, and he's pretty isolated, not touching either of those things, but those things are still affecting him. With the child, sorry for those dings, I apologize for that. The child in the background, I get a sense that this is an inner child who is a little bit more connected with the emotion, but also is appearing to maybe manipulate using the emotion as well. So because to me it looks like that little child's getting ready to dump the cauldron on this guy's head. So I have a feeling if you're not careful, careful is not the word. I have a feeling if you ignore your inner child, he or she is going to make themselves heard. So do some work this year with maybe reparenting, research that. It's a really valuable therapeutic tool for healing some of our inner wounds. You may consider counseling this year, and you may even introduce that idea as something you would like help with. And just know, like, you're gonna struggle with being this guy, and you're trying to, I don't want to say trying to keep this from happening. I guess this is really just to help you understand it when it comes up, that you're gonna have a tendency to be like this guy. You're gonna have a tendency to ignore your inner child. You're gonna have a tendency for emotion to be seemingly out of your control, but it's really just because you're not connecting to it. So it may seem counterintuitive, but when emotion seems out of control, do what you can to bring it back close to you, to connect with it. Ask your inner child, ask your higher self, ask your higher being, your higher power, how you're disconnecting. Ask them to show you, and that way you can learn to be vulnerable and learn to open up to not only to those around you, but really to yourself, to connecting with those parts of yourself. So this could be a really interesting year, and the cards are showing a lot of that too. So let's dive in. January is the World in reverse. I love this card. I think she's just beautiful. All the women in this deck are stunning to me. As you can tell, she's kind of otherworldly. She doesn't really have eyes, but she's got in all four corners the balance of the elements represented in the tarot deck, which we've got over here. We've got the swords, wands, let's see, cups or cauldrons, what you just had in yours, and then the pentacles. They're all represented. She is kind of floating off in space with the stars as a halo, the moon as her crown. I mean, she is just the commander of the universe. Unfortunately, she's in reverse for you here for January. So January could be quite challenging. You may feel a bit out of control. You may feel like your world is spinning out of control. And again, that may be because of the disconnect, that theme, that maybe that because of the disconnect. So your challenge, I think, is to if you feel that chaos of, like, again, the world spinning out of control, is to um, use it as a guide or a mirror for the things internally that are spiraling out of control. Okay, so there's kind of this concept that what we have internally, we manifest externally. Um, and also what is going on externally is a mirror for what's happening internally. So it's both things. And if your world feels chaotic this month, take a deep breath and just notice, no judgment, just notice what's going on internally as well. And the encouragement part of that is that a lot of times just noticing helps to kind of still things. It's like, if you have a child who's throwing a temper tantrum, it's really just because they just want your attention. Maybe it's been a long time, or you've been distracted, or they're having a rough day and they just need acknowledgement. When you give that to them, they calm down. I think it's gonna kind of be like that. February is the Eight of Cauldrons. And so you'll see with this guy, he's clutching his cups, his cauldrons to his chest, but he is losing some along the way behind him. And there's a sense that there's a sense that he's running away. Like, there are some people back here. I don't know what they're scheming. It doesn't seem, it's either they don't know that he's moving on, or there's something kind of, warp, there's something shady there, and this person in the forefront is trying to run away and keep as much of their emotion to them as they can. So noticing this month where you may find yourself in a fight or flight mode, and you're really clutching your emotions to you. You're not having a whole lot of luck with keeping that in place. Maybe losing some things along the way. Maybe they're just spilling out, and you find that you really aren't in as much control as you would like to be. Seven of Cauldrons is for March. This is what the card looks like in its normal state. And but it's in reverse. So with this card, there is very much a the feminine is strong with this one. Like, you've got these beautiful women, and they are all vulnerable with one another. They're sharing their cups, their cauldrons. They're even reaching up and sharing with the masculine figure on the grass. So water, I should note, it's associated with emotion. And so these women are not afraid to be deep in the emotion. They're able to kind of pass it from one to another. They're sharing equally. You'll see the masculine figure is not in the water, and that's because the masculine is a little bit more detached from emotion. The masculine is actually is more on the logic, the thinker. It's a thinker feeler kind of thing. We have both of these energies in us at any given time. Sometimes the masculine is stronger, sometimes the feminine is stronger. In this month, let's see. This card, the feminine is definitely stronger, but it's inviting the masculine to join, which is always really interesting. In its upright position, I would say this card is about the feminine getting stronger, being more vulnerable and open, but also inviting the masculine to come into this. Because it's in reverse, it's usually the opposite of the original meaning, which I think, to me, it means that you are going to struggle with the feminine. You're going to struggle with both the feminine feeling safe enough to be exposed, and to open up and share the emotion. It's always also going to struggle with relating to the masculine and sharing in that way. It may be one level of struggle to share with other feminine characters. It's going to be a whole nother level of struggle to share with a masculine. And that, again, can be both internal and external. So keep that in mind. April is the Two of Cauldrons. And this is a good sign. This, to me, says you accepted the challenge of March, and you're willing in April to move definitely to a much more balanced, more equitable relationship between the masculine and feminine parts of yourselves. And as you can see, they are exchanging cups with one another. So they are equally vulnerable, equally sharing. The masculine is able to interact with the emotion. He's no longer disconnected, no longer dependent on the feminine to bring it to him. He has his own emotions he expresses, and he willingly accepts the feminine's emotions as well. This could very well be a relationship that you find yourself in. I have a strong feeling it's the relationship within you. But again, with that reflection manifestation thing I explained, you could manifest this relationship outside of you as well, which is really encouraging. And I would say, hold out for it. Okay. Don't, and test the waters a little bit to see if it truly is this scenario where it's equitable and even, and you have the masculine male figure who is already able to express their emotions and share that with you, but also to accept yours as well. There's equal space for both of you. May, January, March, April. So that was April. May is the sun in reverse. So this is the sun card. We have a lot going on here. We've got the two figures at the bottom and this beautiful, almost like peacock phoenix looking thing. They are paying attention to the sun, which the zodiac is all 360 around. Now, in reverse is what we've got here. So initially, I think this card is about, these two characters. They are vulnerable and exposed. They're both naked, standing there before the sun. The sun is radiating across them in all its glory. And the sun is a very masculine energy as well. You should note that. It also looks like they're surrounded by Stonehenge, which I think is interesting. In reverse, I think what this is saying is you are moving toward more vulnerability, and the beauty of that. But there's something stopping you. There's an obstacle, and because in the sun, the masculine energy reigns. It's possible that it's the feminine energy that's having a hard time with moving forward. And so that can be you in a relationship. That can also be the feminine part of yourself. This year is going to be all about nurturing the feminine, and every card it's coming up, the feminine and the emotional parts of yourself, which is in line with numerology and other things that are happening astrologically. So you're not going to be alone in this. And maybe that's part of the challenge, is to allow your struggle to be known, so then you are reminded you're not alone and you can share it with others, finding strength in that. For the month of May, I think it's just about recognizing where the feminine is lacking, or what the feminine is lacking, and how you can come alongside and support and encourage it. So that you can write this card, so that you can turn this card upside down and be vulnerable and be exposed and be okay with that. So that's May. June is strength in reverse. This is the strength card. We see another really powerful female figure here. She's riding a lion. She's got an infinity crown above her head, and there's a lot going on here. This card is in reverse, so we read it as the opposite of what this means. And what this really means is this woman, I mean, she is completely exposed. She's got it all hanging out. But she rides tall. I mean, her head is held high. And the lion is kind of an extension of her, this really powerful defensive creature that protects and destroys. But she's able to command that, basically. So in reverse, what I would suggest this means is that it's, again, the feminine having a hard time moving toward a place of empowerment, moving toward her true power, but still having a hard time getting there. And this is where journaling and some of your reflection, and then as well as prayer and meditation are going to really help, because she needs guidance. She needs, the feminine part of you needs encouragement and support along the way. Goodness, we're at 20 minutes already. That's only June. There, we got a lot to talk about apparently. Okay. July is the Ace of Rods in reverse. This is what it looks like right side up. Interesting. We got Stonehenge in the back there again. Huh. I'll have to pay attention to see if it's in any other the other backgrounds. That's really interesting. So this is in reverse. Okay. Rods have to do with thought, ideas, beliefs, and they're usually, an ace is usually the beginning. So there's kind of an origination process. You see that you have the butterfly there. You've got the plants growing, sprouting, if you will. This is going to be a time of stunted growth, of new beginnings that feel like they should be happening, but just aren't for some reason. And this could be kind of a frustrating month for you, actually. That, again, is July. You have a lot of cards in reverse. Okay. August. Okay. August is the King of Pentacles in reverse. And I'll show you this gentleman. This fine-looking gentleman. Pentacles are an earth element. It's, a lot of times being grounded, being connected to the earth. The king generally exudes command over those things. This is masculine energy on fire. He's in charge, he's in control. When it is in reverse, we now have the masculine struggling to come into its power. Okay, and this isn't even the half of its power. I mean, but it's still a part of what's happening, is now the masculine is struggling to keep up. And I just keep hearing the word just notice. So notice when you feel that tension between the two. And when you notice the masculine faltering, not living up to its potential, not living up to expectations, have grace and see how you can lovingly encourage that, how you can lovingly bring that into bloom, into fruition. And now if that doesn't work, then you'll take other actions at that point. But notice and then see how grace and love can guide you moving forward. Your oblong oval is throwing me off as far as the months. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. September is illusion in reverse. And I should note that anytime you see a card with that's like just a word, one word, and then it's got a number underneath, these are major arcana cards. And the others that are the rods, cauldrons, swords, all that, they are considered the minor arcana. Their messages are similar and important, but major arcanas tend to be stronger. And so when they show up, it's a really strong message coming through for that time. So an illusion is interesting because it's you've got the masculine bowing its head, you've got the feminine like really exposed and vulnerable. There's the illusion of the chick in the clouds. And this card is generally it's kind of a warning card that you're about to break through some illusions. Things are going to come true for you. With it being in reverse, I would say this is actually an encouragement card, that you are continuing the work of breaking down illusions that you've already started doing. So it won't come as such a shock or as an emotional breakdown, but you may notice that you have much more of that. The scales fall from your eyes, to use some biblical like apocalyptic terms, but like the scales falling from your eyes, the curtain falling, you're gaining more clarity and truth through this month. Yeah. October is the Four of Cauldrons in reverse. And this is what that looks like. Here you have the feminine pouring into the masculine. But in the masculine holding that cup of emotion close to himself. With this being in reverse, I think that there are going to be attempts for the feminine to pour into the masculine, kind of that loving guidance, grace, generosity, etc. It's going to be thwarted, or it's going to be rejected, or not received well. And that can drive some frustration. So if you notice that in your relationship or relationships with a masculine character, and note that a masculine character doesn't necessarily mean they're male. Females also have masculine traits. So it could be a female with real strong masculine traits that maybe you've been pouring into, and that is not being received well, or it's being rejected, or it's not being reciprocated, because you see that we've got this figure on the ground and he is sleeping. So it's also possible that that you could be pouring into someone and they are not consciously aware of their actions. Again, it's going to be up to you to decide what to do with that information, but it will, I think, be helpful to note that's what's playing out here. November is the Seven of Swords in reverse. So here's this gentleman, what he looks like right side up. Swords are associated with words or communication, and this guy has a pretty good sense of how to utilize both those things, words and communication. I will say though that because this is in reverse, this may be a month where communication suffers, and or words don't quite measure up. Last but not least is December. We have the Five of Rods, and this is an interesting one. Again, rods are beliefs or ideas, even opinions. And we've got all these characters interjecting their opinions at one another, getting them tangled up, not able to pull themselves loose. So a lot of ideas are going to be swirling around you in December. You're going to be wrestling with your own ideas, thoughts, and beliefs. And then you're also going to be faced with the ideas, thoughts, and beliefs of those outside of you, and how to sift through them to find your truth. You can see these are all very different characters. I think one thing for navigating your own internal belief is going to be to identify where those ideas, thoughts, and beliefs are coming from. Is it an old belief that stems from something you that was imprinted on you in childhood? Is it a rather new belief, a part of your personality that's emerging that wants to have its say? Figuring out where those opinions and beliefs are coming from will help you to understand which one you want to act on moving forward. So, yeah, it all just kind of comes brushing out like a river, and then it just stops. All done. So let me see if there's anything else I want to add, and then I will sign off for you. I do think Stonehenge is curious, and the fact that that's shown up in a couple cards. That may be something you just want to research. And it's an interesting place. I'm not sure if you've ever been there, but it's an interesting place, an interesting magic to it. So that may be just something you want to research. Or if you are headed to the UK anytime this year, definitely a place to put on your radar, because there's something is there, but I don't know what it is. Okay. All right, so that's 2018. Again, feel free to message me if you have any questions, comments, concerns. And thank you so much for letting me share this with you. I absolutely love doing these readings and find them really fascinating to hear people's stories and how they lined up. So if you have anything that comes out of this, I'd love feedback anytime throughout the year. All right, darling. Happy New Year.